Denver,
One-man show.
come here. That was produced for a local
Oh, I am,
audience.
actually,
We
but-
won. You're eligible to enter. So that's the difference. Let's open it up to questions, because we got 100 different categories. Yes?
So you said airs. I think I heard you mention websites. Obviously, if it airs on TV, that's.
Mhm.
What do
That's
you mean
traditional.
website? So that's like YouTube, your personal website, your business
Internet.
website.
Internet.
Anywhere.
We don't really care. Yeah, they're going to be, it has to be to a mass audience. So, what am I don't know if I can give you good internet examples, but things like Jumbotron or into a, like airplane, closed audience in an airplane, that we don't accept yet.
What if you have like a YouTube channel? So your
Done.
person is.
Wonderful. Go for it.
Oh, okay. So like anybody could do it.
Anybody can do it.
Okay.
You can do it on your phone, and you upload it.
Okay.
And everybody sees it. So what I'm going to be asking when you submit it is,
Hang on
who is
just a
your
second.
audience? Who is your intended audience? And if it's local or regional, in any one of those 5
Yes, if I
states.
can place it
So
here.
you're doing some for the Cheyenne audience, or Omaha, or Oklahoma City. All over it, you bet. Does that answer your question?
Yes.
Okay.
I want to get a little more nuanced about
Well-
maybe regional versus national. But
Absolutely. Well, that's what I'm here for. So did you have a question, ma'am, also?
Yes, we produce our PSA video for teen mental health awareness,
Mhm.
and primarily it's for Colorado audience,
Yep.
but of course it can become national.
Because it's on the internet, so anybody in
It's in
China
the
can watch
internet,
it.
exactly.
Yeah.
It's in social media, it's in websites of Save to Tell. It can become national, but basically right now is online.
Yes.
So is a good.
Yes,
how-
and should I repeat these questions? Can everybody hear what's going on? I just want to make sure. Yes, repeat?
Yes, please.
The question, basically, and you're going to stop me if I get this wrong, is she's producing a series of PSAs on teen mental health awareness, and primarily it has to do with kids in Colorado, but it airs on the internet. So is that eligible? And again, we're going to say, did you produce this for Colorado kids and their families? And if you did, then yes, it's eligible. Now, everybody in the world can see this, the PSAs that they produce. And yeah, that's great, and it's not like she's going to say, don't watch. But it was primarily produced for people here locally, and it's eligible.
And actually we're using Colorado teams.
That is a different aspect. She says we're using Colorado teens. We don't care where you get your actors. They can come from the moon. But who was it produced for? When you wrote the treatment, when the producer said we really, really want to make sure that this group sees it, if this group is national, then you need to go to the National Emmy Awards. So that's what that is. Yes?
So
question?
a TV show that was shot in other states, but by a person, a team here with a host that's here, it had kind of a theatrical release premiere, but it's going to be on PBS next year. Where would that be next year, Emmy?
Okay, so the question has to do with, all right,
Timing.
so
It's a timing.
the timing of the thing. So can we leave off the part about out-of-state crew and local
No, I mean, it's all
producer?
local crews that just went film
And-
something somewhere else.
And we get entries from people based in Los Angeles, but they do work that was intended for an Omaha audience, for
Okay,
instance.
it's definitely
So-
for the audiences here, it's going to be on PBS here. So.
Okay, what was that part about, before you said it's going to be on PBS
Yeah.
here, where did it air before that? Because the
Yeah.
eligibility for this year's call for entries is for work that saw the first light of day to a mass audience in calendar year 2019.
There you go.
So that's what we're talking about. So if you did that work and it aired on your YouTube channel, whatever, website, that kind of stuff, was it intended for a local audience? Because if it aired first on PBS, their audience by default is only local because they're a traditional television station. So we'll take anything that aired on a local PBS station because they can't go any further than, Montrose or whatever. So No. What else? Follow-up question? That's good?
Good.
Okay, cool. Thanks. Okay, well, yes?
So I made a spec commercial that really looks like a custom t-shirt commercial. It's not.
Looks like a what?
It's a custom t-shirt commercial, so it's not specific to the area, it's national. That does not apply to what we're talking about then. It would not be
A
regional
commercial that is for a custom t-shirt
company.
company.
Yes.
Where did it air, this commercial, first?
It would have been on my website.
Okay, if it aired on one of the local stations,
No.
then yeah, absolutely
Okay.
submit it. Because local stations will do a commercial, they produce it locally, and it only reaches a local audience, even though they would love for it to go national.
Sure.
So, for instance, just as and I'll get to you in a minute, Frontier Airlines, national company, they do spots that are just intended for a Denver audience. They enter our awards. That's legal.
So because mine was on my website and not on a local channel of any type or any local distribution, it would not qualify for a regional Emmy, is that correct?
Yes, but only because it was primarily intended for a national audience.
It's true, that's
Yes,
very
if
true.
it was a
Yeah.
local and it did the website,
Mhm.
yeah, bring it on. So,
Okay, understood.
all right, did you have a follow-up?
Yes,
Okay.
well, it's not follow up on the last question, but
And then I'll get to you now.
a new question. So political spots,
Oh, yeah.
that's kosher?
If you can find a category for it, like political, yes, government, we have those categories. Hold on, we're talking about commercial?
Yeah, political.
Political commercial,
For
good
candidate-
question. All right, let me
For
check.
candidate and or proposition, like,
Let me check the mouse type here, because I want to make sure that that's not one of the things that is not okay. I think it's okay. Things that are not allowed. Content from telephones, pledge breaks, and/or programs with unique call to action aired for purposes of raising money for political parties, charities, or other related causes. And that said program, it didn't say commercial.
Did
I'd have to
did you
check
say
on that.
it
raising
would
money?
seem more, it's more of like a PSA of sorts, but
Uh-huh. No, I know exactly what you're saying. And that is,
that sounds like a PBS fundraiser as opposed to like an actual,
it
like,
does.
piece
It
of
does.
produced content that people buy, broadcast,
I mean,
spend a lot of money.
Obviously, a program that Jason Crow or Corey Gardner does is not going to be eligible program, but I don't know that a PSA is not. I think PSA is probably okay, political PSA. So, but there's only one category for it,
Which is just,
PSA, single spot or campaign.
you said something about like there being a government one?
There is, this is for a program. If you do like a government or a political type program that doesn't fall under that thing that I read off really fast. Call to action, doesn't have any of that kind of stuff. But we have a category just for programs that are government related or political issues. So yeah, absolutely. Ma'am, you had a question first.
So we have an art film that will be, we're still finishing it, this will be for the next year, but it's going to premiere at the Longmont Museum of Art. The content matter isn't produced specifically for, it's an art film. but by having its first premiere at a Longmont Museum of Art or something like that first distribution point as a regional spot, does that
Yes,
qualify?
and the reason is that your national audience, there are very few people who are going to be looking for that Longmont art site and say, oh, honey, we're making our next trip out there. You know what I mean? And it is primarily for the region that goes to
Right.
Longmont and would look at that as an awesome day trip or whatever. So yeah, you bet.
Okay.
Yeah.
So who would be the person that is actually entering the project? Because obviously, I mean, you received your Emmy from the work you did on
Or won.
Rocky Mountain.
Yeah, right.
Yes. To quote you.
Yeah, no,
But looking at that, you got that for narration.
Uh-huh.
Did you submit for the Emmy, or was there an entire group, or was that production that submitted it, or how did that work?
I won this for my work on a documentary, so I narrated a documentary. The producer and the people who put that documentary together entered it into the documentary historical category and won in that also. So you have a choice when you're putting a program or something like that together, because you could, in my case, for an example, if I wanted to piggyback onto the entry in the documentary program and just list out Audrey the narrator and Richard the editor and Jane the videographer, you can do all of that. There's room for like 12 people. But I wanted to be judged by other narrators, because I won an Emmy that said, from my peers, that said I did the best. As much as I love documentaries and I produced them, I didn't want a narrator as a tag-on to the documentary producer win, if you know what I mean. So we have news, programs, craft categories, special achievement. There's all kinds of ways that you can enter. So when I was talking about you only have that one category, in many cases, you have more than one option for categories, or especially if you're crew. Producers have like one, program categories, but if you wear multiple hats on the production, and hello, who doesn't? Producer, videographer, editor, writer, we have those last three. Those are all craft categories. You can enter once as the producer and program, and then 3 individual more times as those individual crafts, if you will. Does that answer your question?
So what you're saying is that it's possible to receive multiple Emmys for a project you did. You could win it. You could receive one as producer, you could receive one as the narrator, you could receive one as the editor, you could receive all of those.
However many hats you wore, you can get. Wouldn't it be great? You're eligible for statues in all of those. What you're not eligible for, and this gets into an area that we call double dipping, you may not use the same role in 2 entries. So you cannot be producer-editor in the doc category and producer-editor in the editor category. You've got to be producer in one and editor in the other, because we cannot give you 2 statues that look exactly the same. That's why. Question?
Which categories receive the most submissions?
There are a couple of news categories, like human interest reporters, that kind of stuff, that regularly get like 30 entries. But it varies from year to year. If you are thinking about entering, and I guess I have 2 things I want to say. You can go onto our website and you can check the awards page. We have archives. So we always run a list of last year's entries. So you can see every category that we offered and who entered in which one. Not the video, but you can see a list of the stations and the companies and the productions that put their stuff in. That being said, as the Emmy lady, I have to say, it's not a raffle. So every category is judged by peers. So narrator gets judged by narrators. Documentary gets judged by documentary producers. Editor gets judged by editors. Program editor or news editor, depending. And each one is judged on 3 qualifications: content, creativity, and execution. Not the quality of the video, we don't care if it looks like a VHS, but content, creativity, and execution. That's what they're looking at. So whether there are 30 entries or only 1 entry, when the ballots come in, every entry has a score. And once all the entries are put together, the awards committee goes through in a blind meeting, so they don't know what categories or what entries they're looking at, and they decide where the cutoff is going to be for nominations. So if you say that in this category the high scores are 97%, then the cutoff for a nomination might be 85. So anything above the line gets a nomination. Now that means the very highest scores, and it could be scores, are going to get statues. We have multiple winners in various categories every single year because we're awarding a standard of excellence, rather than a horse race. So you can have 2 different PSAs, both kick an ass, and they both win. So
So can you take us through the judging process? Who judges and where are those judges? Are they local judges?
Never local.
Biased? How does that judging
The question
process
has to do with who are the judges and where are they? Who are these people? They're outside of our chapter, so they are not going to be in 5 states. The rule is you cannot judge work that you did. There are 19 of those chapters, remember I mentioned? We have trading agreements with each other every single year. So our chapter judges with between 8 and 10 other chapters every single year. And we ship out categories, and some of the chapters are the same that we trade with, but we try to give them different categories different years. And they do the same for us. Right now, we still have some categories from the New York chapter that need help to be judged. So they send their stuff to us, and it's all online. And actually, Tracy, in back of the room here, is our judging coordinator. And if you have any kind of a membership profile, or if you're interested in judging, your membership profile will actually list out what the categories are. And you can say, news editor, that's what I do. And so you you click it and say, I want to help. And it goes to Tracy, and then she'll verify that you are who you say you are, and say, yeah, here's the code, get it, go crazy. Here's the deadline, get it done by then. And that's how it works. Each category needs a minimum of 6 judges, peer judges. We're not okay with 2 or 3. So we want people, and they could be from different chapters. So it's, let's say New York gets our news editor category. They're bound by our rules. In order for us to keep using that statute, we all have to get 6 or 7 judges, and they all got to be news editors or people with experience in editing news. And if New York can't get it, they'll let us know, and we'll call Atlanta or San Francisco and say, can you get us a couple? And that's how it works. Does that answer your question? Okay, cool. Go ahead.
When you say you guys evaluate based on content, creativity, and
Execution.
execution
Yes.
for each category?
The question is, those 3 categories, 3 qualifications that we judge on, content, creativity, and execution, is that for every category? What an awesome question, thank you, because no, it's not. It's for every category except crafts. Crafts are not judged on content, because you're not a producer. You didn't decide that. Your craft work is going to be judged on creativity and execution, and that's how that works. Yeah, good question. Ian.
What are our 5 states? I'm Colorado, obviously, but
What are our 5 states? Colorado, Wyoming, Nebraska, Kansas, Oklahoma. So it's mostly, what we do is we talk about DMAs rather than states, so designated market areas. So actually, Durango is part of our chapter, even though they're part of the Farmington DMA. Durango doesn't want to play with Phoenix. They want to play with Denver. So that's what happens there. I think, let's see, in Kansas, what is that city to the far east? There's a Kansas City out there somewhere. I can't remember. They're not part of our chapter. They're part of the Mid-America chapter. So it's a little odd, but basically those 5 states. So, did you have another question?
I did. What does it cost to enter?
What does it cost to enter? Yes! What an awesome question. If you are a member, it's going to cost you $100 to get your name on an entry. If you're not a member, it'll be like $250. How much is membership? $65 a year. Are you going to save money by being a member? Oh yeah. Do not even think about entering as a non-member unless you are made of money, in which case, just cut me a check, really. So that's the bottom line. Now, every single person on your entry form has to be registered into our system. They can be a system user or they can be a member. Either one is okay. But in order for the name to get on the form, we got to know who they are and how to contact them, so that we can send out notices on nominations and the gala and that kind of stuff. We don't ever use the personal information you give us for anything except our local Emmy business, and that's the way it is. But every person on the entry form is going to be charged an individual rate depending on whether they're a member or not, and their order on the form. So the first entrant pays $100, numbers 2 through 6 you're going to pay like $50, and then 7 through 12 is like $100 or something. So it's graded to in a certain way. That made sense at the time I did it. but that's yeah, that's how we do it. If you are entering from a smaller market, you will pay a lower fee. So folks in Tulsa and Cheyenne will pay less per entry than we do here in Denver and Oklahoma City, because they don't make as much. And that's just basic economics. We don't want to cut people out of the race. So, yes?
Can I get clarity on the entry fees? So, for an example, let's say you're in-house, which I'm not, but just let's say there's a creative team in-house to a company, big corporation, and they apply to enter to win an Emmy or
Yes.
whatever.
Yes.
How does that work if they have their crew of people and all that? Does it count as the company as one entry fee? Or does it count as the company entry and then also individual, like?
Awesome question.
Does that
Awesome.
make sense?
She wants to know, how do you do it if you've got a company? And, you know, can the company enter or does the crew do it separately? And the way we do it is, the rule is companies can't enter because the statutes only go to people. So on the entry form can only be people's names, individual people's names. And to make it worse, they can only be people who worked on the production. So we don't accept the head of creative services, say, as an entrant if he or she did not work on the production of that video. Just a supervisor doesn't give you the in to an entry. There are, and that being said, I don't want to, there are so many supervisors that do the work. It's not even funny. You know, if you're a producer, that's not all you do. But in many large corporations, it gets weird. The head of the organization or whatever, they gotta have their, I want an Emmy too. You guys are, oh look, my TV crew over here is winning Emmys. I want one too. No, no. Were you out there running the cable? Did you write that script? No? Go. And we deal with it. But that's the deal. We get questions every year. People want to put staff as an entrant. No, can't do that. It's got to be the reporter or the editor or the person who actually did the work. We don't care what your title is within your company. What we care about is what your role was on the entry. So were you a researcher? Were you a production assistant? Because maybe your role is videotape librarian. I mean, maybe, your job is a videotape librarian, but when you get out on the production, you're honest crew. In which case, that's what we want your statute to say, is your crew. Does that answer your question? Yeah. Any questions, you can call me. Glenn?
Where can we find a complete list of all of the categories that are available?
You're like a plant. Thank you. In a good way. You can find a list of all the categories and all the rules and requirements. It's actually called a call for entries. Like, hello, entries, come on, entries. A call for entries, right? It's on our website. So, EmmyAwards.tv is our website. And you see the homepage, and then you click on the tab that says Awards. And in there, it's going to say 2020 Call for Entries. We also use the shorthand as CFE, Call for Entries. So the 2020 CFE is on the website, and it's actually this monster document right here. It has all the categories, all the eligibility requirements, every price you might want to know about, and all the mouse type. So, okay, what else? Awesome questions. I love all of you. Thank you. Yeah?
So, I've been planning with my crew for an entry into the 2021 Emmys.
Yeah.
And I was also just kind of thinking so the 2020 deadline is coming up soon, I know. And I was just curious, didn't even think about this before, but I have a short 15-minute documentary which revolves around action sports. Would that be eligible for any categories?
Who is your audience?
My audience.
And that's kind of rhetorical. If it was local or regional, it's eligible. If it was national, and if the intent was to drag in a national audience, then you've got to go to the national Emmys.
For
But
sure.
if it was something that you produced for a local and it had its first airing in calendar year 2019, then that's this call that we're talking about right now.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would definitely say it's meant for a national audience. So that answers my question.
Okay, cool. Good question. Yes?
For judges, when you guys need judges, is there any kind of like minimum threshold the person needs to meet to like kind of qualify as a judge, or is it
Yes.
like you hold a judge
You-
title?
Judges cannot be interns. You have to be a paid professional, and not a paid intern, but a paid professional.
For-
We would love it if you had, say, 3 years' experience in the business, but depending on where you work, 1 year as an editor is going to be worth, in some companies, 3 years as an editor. You know what I'm saying? So it depends on what you're doing.
Gotcha.
Paid professional, yes. And the reason we ask for peers is because for everything except promos and PSAs and commercials, you don't have to watch the entire entry before the ballot pops up and you can actually judge. And from my personal experience, I'll say as a narrator, when I'm judging narrator categories, I can tell real fast whether this person's got it or not. And if you look at the craft that you do, you can tell real fast. Heck, you don't have to see their work. You'd be sitting around over a beer talking to them and you know whether they got the chops or not. So that's why we want you as a peer. So that, and in the judging certification, we'll ask you, what do you do? Have you won any awards? How long have you been doing this? What's going on? So we'll vet you out. What else? Yep.
So when you say like it's meant for a regional audience,
Mhm.
or it's meant for a national audience,
Mhm.
like what exactly does that mean? Because I feel like, you know, even if you're centering it around, oh, I want this to really resonate with people in Colorado or in the Heartland chapter, but like also like, you know, people in a national audience could see that and it could be meant for them also. What is that kind of?
Awesome question, and it is such a weird line. Let me give you an example and then tell me if this works or not. Colorado State Parks, they do video series, right? And they're on their website. You can't tell me they're not aiming for a national audience. But who's really watching this stuff? It's regional.
Okay.
State, not Colorado National Parks, Colorado State Parks. So they do this stuff, and they know when they're talking about most of their audience that, yeah, they're intended for a national audience, but realistically, who's looking at it? It's going to be regional. And that may be the case with what you've got going on. Who among us producing something doesn't want it to go national? We all do. Even if the only place you can get it aired, I say only lightly, is one of the local PBS stations. They run tons of stuff from producers. They want APB to pick that stuff up. Heck yeah. But right now it's going to a local audience. So you do something and maybe it's, you know, Rocky Mountain PBS did something years ago, Jazz in 5 Points. Now, that was aired to a local audience, but it could easily go national. There are people all over the country who would be interested in the history there and that kind of. So use your discretion, and if you have specific questions, give me a call. I want you to enter, and there are going to be some of you who have stuff that you want to enter, and there's no place for you in the national categories, in which case, by default, you're allowed to go locally. So there's that angle too.
So you mentioned to a couple folks about connecting with you and contacting you.
Oh, yeah.
What is the best way to contact you, and what is that information?
See, he's a plant. I tell you, these are like, if I could ask somebody to ask questions, these would be it. Okay, the best way to get a hold of me is in my office by phone, 303-722-0916, and it's a landline, so don't even think about texting. And that's good business hours. And when you call,
Say it again.
303-722-0916, and when you call, here's what you do, please. Hey, this is Audrey. Here's my phone number, 303-722-0916. I got a quick question about category 45. Call me. Thanks, bye. Perfect. What I don't want is, hi, so I think we met at that thing last Wednesday, and so I've got this documentary, and I'm not sure if it aired nationally or whether it's local, but it kind of had a bunch of local people in it, and everybody said it was perfect for Denver. and I really, really need some help about which category. And you go on, and I'm telling you, most of my phone calls are like that. So, and I have to wade through the whole thing to wait to get your phone number. Don't do that to me, please. Give me your name and phone number. We'll talk about when I call you back. Because here's what I will do for you. Our deadline is 5 o'clock on January 31st, Mountain Time. I will call you back and we will get it resolved before I close the call for entries. I promise. You can also email me, audrey@emmyawards.tv. And the reason I'm being kind of weird about this is because the last week in January is when every television station in our region, we have 11 DMAs, decides, oh my God, we got to get this done before whatever, the Super Bowl. What, I don't know what the deal is, but they all wait till the last minute and they need me. So I'm on the phone 10 hours a day and my patience gets very thin. So be nice and do that. Thanks. Yes?
Sorry, can you repeat that deadline again?
January 31st at 5 o'clock Mountain Time.
January 31st.
January 31st, this month.
Right.
So like in 15 days, 16 days, right? Okay, so that's the deadline, and our entry process is like 3 parts. There's getting the paperwork submitted, and it's all online, so this is like virtual. Paperwork submitted, payment made, video uploaded, and in that order. You can't do it in any other order. You can't upload a video before you have the entry ID number, and that's generated automatically from your entry. So, if you get your entry submitted and the payment made by 5 o'clock on Friday, January 31st, and you need to take the weekend to upload your video, that's okay. Go for it. Just get that paperwork in. Okay, other questions? Yes?
What are some things that would like disqualify you for an Emmy as far as like, oh, like you got the sponsor to create your film or whatever? Is there any like weird things like that would disqualify you? Or?
The question is, what's going to disqualify you? And that's awesome question. Sponsorship, no, we all need money to produce this stuff, everybody, so you can go for it. In fact, everybody's going to want to know, that's half the reason people judge is to get ideas for everybody else's shows, so go for it. You're going to get disqualified if you intentionally falsify something, for sure. And it says in the call for entry, as part of our mouse type, you could be disqualified at any part in the process. So if that means we rip the statue out of your cold, nerveless fingers, then we will do it. But don't lie to us. It's integrity. We work on the honor system, and I will tell you, every year when the nominations are announced, your competition comes out of the woodwork. They go through these with a fine-tooth comb, and they call me, and they say, hey, wait a minute. That thing didn't air on, this was a national audience. How'd they get in here? What's good? And I got to research all, if I haven't done that already. Half the time I can say, no, I talked to Ian. No, we know what this is. Shut up. But they all call. So be upfront, be honest about it. And then there are other little things like the double dipping, or did you put people on the entry form that didn't really work on the crew? And that's what I do after the deadline. I take the month of February, Tracy and we go through every single entry. And we will do things like, first of all, are you paid? Is it in obviously the wrong category? If so, and I'll have questions about this stuff. Like, whoa, this doesn't look right. Or this looks like a national, and I'll call you and say, what's going on here? Do we need to change categories? Did you not edit this right? But there are rules in here about every time you make an edit, you have to put a second of black, for instance. That's one of our rules. If you don't do that, you get disqualified.
That's like making edits after you won an award, or?
First of all, you're not allowed to post-produce an entry. What you enter must be what the viewer saw.
Right.
So that's the first thing. But in many cases, like in a program entry, people are always going to cut out the commercials. The judges do not need to see something isn't part of what you produced. So you cut out the commercials, and you put a second of black every time you make an edit like that. Now, some people will not put a second of black, or they will add a slate, or they put color bars at the beginning of the video. Big problem. don't post-produce this thing. Or if you're putting a composite together, like in the craft categories, you're allowed to give us a composite of your 5 best pieces of work from 2019 in like editing or videography. If it looks like a demo reel, you're out, gone. Don't. It's got to look boring. First piece, 1 second of black. Second piece, 1 second of black. So follow the rules, read this. I know it's a lot of words, but you read it and you're cool. And then call me when you have questions. I'll explain everything to you.
Cool.
That's what they're paying for. What else? Yes?
Yeah, this is just a specific case question,
Yeah.
which we can break away and do whatever, however you prefer, but does it need to be broadcast locally, or if it has like a large local like screening? I have a narrative student short film to a screen for like 700-800 people, but it wasn't put on like Rocky Mountain PBS, and students from the school have gone through this process before, so I don't know exactly what steps they took, but I just was curious.
Is this a video production?
Yeah, it's a narrative.
Was it part of a class project?
Yes. I mean, it's a college project, yeah.
Dude, enter it in student production awards.
Cool.
It's not going to be Emmy eligible because students, you have to be a professional. But absolutely, get your faculty advisor to enter that thing in student production awards. Oh yeah.
Okay.
And we don't care where it aired. If it was part of a class project, you're in.
Okay.
Is that what you?
Yeah, I might be asking the wrong question. Like I said, I know that productions from the same place have gone through this process before, so I was just curious what the best way to go about
So productions from this place have been entered in the Emmy contest before.
it. Yeah. And so I
Well,
don't know if it's just a
and the video aired where?
Well, and at some point I think they do air on Rocky Mountain PBS, so I'm
But
wondering
before
if it's
that, where do they air?
It'd be Rocky Mountain PBS, that would be the place to do it.
Okay, so like, it would have been like theater production to a closed audience maybe, and then,
Right. Like there's a student show that's shown,
yep,
but
Yep.
that's like an open
Heartland's
event.
Theater.
Yeah, exactly.
Heartland's Theater.
okay.
And
I don't know that exactly, so.
sure,
So
yeah.
it's a student production and it's shown in a whatever.
Yeah.
And then
yeah.
it ends up on Rocky Mountain PBS.
Yeah, and that
Okay.
may be part of the eligibility thing that they're doing, if they get it to air first and then it would be eligible.
That's why I'm trying to figure out where it actually aired first.
Yeah.
Like, on what internet did it air?
Well, I think it
Isn't
was broadcast on Rocky Mountain PBS first.
Where, did anybody see it ahead of that?
Yeah, I mean, in
Where?
a private screening at the Heartland.
Okay, not on an internet site anywhere.
Correct.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Then, once it airs on Rocky Mountain PBS, you can technically enter as a professional if you want to pay the professional membership fees.
Okay.
But you cannot enter as a student with our $15 a year student membership fees
Gotcha.
in the professional Emmys.
Cool.
So yeah, then you can go for it. Anything that airs on Rocky Mountain PBS or CPT-12 is fair game for Emmy entry, always. And then you had a question.
Yeah, so I have a project and I know that I want to submit my cinematographer for an award. So you were saying something about needing to like make sure that like her information was in your system.
Somewhere.
So I
yeah.
need to have her go to like your website, or what do I need?
Great question. Okay, so this lovely woman is going to enter her cinematographer in for an Emmy Award. Yes, she needs to go to our website. She can either, and again, unless you're made of money, somebody needs to make her a member. And the best thing is for her to do it. Even if you end up paying for her membership, depending on how the money is working on this one, but she needs to get a member number in our system or a user number. So either a guest user account, which is a non-member, or a member account with the membership fee, which is a member, and then we'll get lower entry fees. So yes. And why aren't you being entered in this?
Well, I mean, I would enter myself, but not as a cinematographer, as like the
You'd be the producer and the got it,
Yes.
lovely.
Right,
Okay,
yeah.
cool, that's it. So when she puts her entry together as a cinematographer, that would be in what we call videography categories. And is it just gonna be for the one show, or does she have like stuff from all of 2019?
She
that would
probably has
be
other stuff.
eligible?
She worked on one show for me.
Uh-huh.
I'm sure she has. other
Wonderful,
things.
then yes, she could put that in. Or she could simply enter her videography work on that one show for you as its own entry, that's it.
Okay.
that's okay too. Just FYI. Yes.
So you said the PBS stations are
Fair
good,
game.
but what if you're producing content and you put on like a public access station that still gets, you know, Denver, whoever gets Comcast or whatever, that would be.
Anything on what I'm going to call
Traditional
traditional
broadcast.
broadcast,
Yeah.
whether it's Denver 8, Aurora 8, Douglas County 8, any of the PBS, KMGH, KUSA, any of those guys, is an automatic. If it saw the first light of day in 2019 and that's where it aired first, that's what we do. That's how we got our start back in 1986. So that's always going to be eligible, no matter who the audience was intended for, no matter who it was produced for, I should say. Because by default, the audience is going to be local. Even if you produced it and it aired on Denver 8 and you fully intended it to go national at some point, but that's where you got them to pick it up for you and run it, it's eligible for us.
See, that's where public access would be a little different. Because you can still submit something to public access. It's just like a lower barrier of entry than like a PBS.
Yes, it is. But if you're thinking, I want to enter the Emmys,
Yeah,
and that's the
exactly.
first place that it aired. I mean, if you put it on your website first and then it goes to Denver 8, oops, it has to, then we're going to say, was that produced for a regional audience? But if it goes to Denver 8 first, we don't care who you produced it for, because it only ended up being seen by a regional audience first, and then it's good. A lot of people will, before they put it on their website, they'll have Denver 8 air it,
Yeah.
or CBT 12 or whoever, whatever, and then they're a shoo-in to enter the competition.
So the difference between regional Emmys and national Emmys, is it possible to get one of each with the program? Is it possible to
Yeah.
have something air on Rocky Mountain PBS for the first airing, and then have
Yes.
it go national
But
and have
not-
something with
yes.
national
It
distribution?
is possible to get two Emmys, a regional and a national for the same program, but not in the same year. So it
So
has
if it
to
aired in 2019 on PBS, and
locally.
then locally, Rocky Mountain PBS, 2020 it goes national on whatever outlet it happens to be at nationally, then for the 2020 Emmys, it
If
can
you
be,
wanted
and
to
it can
enter
be
that
entered
one into the
for
national
national.
news and docs, then yeah, you could do that, yes.
Got it.
But those details are in here, so you can actually read and get that, so that, so basically, we can come after you if you do it wrong and say, we told you not to do that. So, yeah.
So always go first for the regional,
Always,
Emmy before you go to
always,
the national.
yes. Yep, and we're happy to help you win here, so. Anyone else? Specific questions about a project you're working on? Yeah?
Oh, no, I have a question related with when is the day of the event?
The
Yeah,
Emmy
actually-
Awards ceremony here locally is July 25th. It's a Saturday. And our chapter is the only one. We have two awards ceremonies running at the exact same time, one here in Denver and one in Oklahoma City on Central Time. Because again, they're like 49th Market and we're what, 17, something like that. And they can't all afford to come out here not knowing whether they're going home with a statue or not, and then pay airfare and hotel, and then make less than we do anyway. So we have a show, a smaller show in Oklahoma City. So if you're in Oklahoma City, you can go there. It's going to be January 25th. The nominations are announced at the end of May. So what happens is you get a January 31st deadline for entries. Then Tracy and I take the month of February, we go through these things, make sure they're cleaned up where they're supposed to be, looking good, everything's spelled right and whatever, or at least not, cuss words in there. And then starting in March, they go out to be judged. It takes about 2 months. So by the end of April, they come back, the ballots come back. Then the accountants get this information and they got to tally everything up and get it in a way that the awards committee can view it, that is to say blindly. So nobody knows what category you entered. Because you don't want say, and I'm not doing this, but you don't want me on the committee going, oh, this is my friend Ian's thing. Yes, we're gonna, and he only got a 75, so we're gonna say that the cut line needs to be 75, so Ian will get a nomination. We don't know who we're cutting. So that happens at the beginning of May. The accountants, the awards committee meets, everybody does that, and then at the end of May, the nominations are announced. And it's like the 3rd or 4th week in May. So once that happens, tickets go on sale for the Emmy Award show. It all kind of hits the fan. We start producing the show program and all that kind of stuff, and then we have the show on that Saturday night. It'll be at the Hilton City Center this year. So if you want to make a night of it and party and then stay at the hotel, what a great idea. Don't drive, please. But that's what's going on there. Yes?
So for like the talent categories, a lot of them are anchor, reporter, that can be oriented. But if you're more into like in entertainment, just as like actress or something, does that still fit into this?
Yeah, the question is, what about the performer actress kind of thing? And yes, there is a category in crafts under talent called host, performer, moderator. So yes, that's where you want to go.
That would be the general
Right.
entertainment.
Yes, yes. Or if you don't like that one category, but you're entering something in arts and entertainment program, a lot of people will put the name of, Ann Smith talent
Okay.
in the program category, the hanging onto the program thing. So either one is okay.
Because like moderator or host doesn't really sound right if it's an entertainment.
It doesn't sound fun, but we get a lot of entertainers that enter in that craft category. And that's what they do professionally, is they're just...
Look at the archives to see.
Yes, please. That's the best way to do it. Yep. And then when you're looking in the archives, you can also look in the program categories like arts and entertainment, and because we list all the entrants, and you can see are there talent in there, or is it just the producers? So, yeah.
Again, sorry.
Sure.
Our PSAs has different versions.
Mm-hmm.
We did a lot of versions. I think the basic ones are 4 or 5 versions. It's up to us to send the application for a specific one, or we can apply for the different versions.
You get to choose. She said her PSAs have a whole bunch of different versions. So what that says to me is y'all ran a campaign that's more than one spot.
Right.
So for PSAs, there are 2 categories. One is single spot and the other is campaign. The campaign must have at least 2 or 3, I think, to actually be a campaign according to our rules. And you cannot enter something in campaign that is also in single spot.
Single spot. Okay.
So, but yeah, does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, coolness? Yep, Glenn?
What about programs in other languages?
Yes, programs in other languages as long as it's Spanish. We can handle that. And then I think there are about 25 or 30 categories in this list of 100 that accept Spanish language entries. And they're clearly marked in the call for entries which ones accept Spanish.
So my question is a combination of those. So essentially, if like you were doing a campaign, you could have an English and Spanish, and that's the campaign. It's one video, but maybe in Spanish and English. Is that a thing?
Well, then I'm not quite understanding. Campaign in both Spanish and
Well,
English.
her question was,
Mhm.
if it's a campaign, one's an English version, one's a Spanish version. Are those 2 videos? Is that a campaign?
There are 2 different versions.
So the campaign is, the question is, so let's say you got a PSA campaign, and the campaign has to do with, you're trying to reach both a Spanish audience and an English audience, so some of the spots are in Spanish and some are in English. So you either enter one of them in single spot, or if you've got 2 or more that are in English, they would go in English campaign. If you've got 2 or more in Spanish, they would go in Spanish campaign, because the contests are separate.
Got it.
Good question. Yeah, awesome.
That's good.
No, you guys this is awesome, man. You're thinking. Love it. Yes.
So for the membership, is it like an Emmy membership, or where do you go to sign up for that? And also, second question too, you mentioned something about.
Two-part question. What?
It's simple,
Okay.
it's simple. You mentioned something about cuss words, so if there's like a cuss word in your piece that you're submitting for an Emmy, does that just disqualify it in general?
Let me answer the second part first about cuss words. Just not in the title of the entry, please. Sometimes when you're interviewing people, there's nothing you can do about that. That's how we talk. But
Okay.
it's your choice what that title says.
Gotcha.
So if it's all, a bunch of 4 letters in there, I'll call and say,
Okay.
guess what, we're changing this.
I see.
How do you like asterisks? The first question had to do with membership. Is it an Emmy membership? Yes, it is. It's an annual membership, so it's going to be calendar year 2020. Or you could do a 2-year membership and save $10. But it is just for our chapter. It also is an automatic membership in the national chapter, so if you need to enter something that you do in the national Emmys, you're automatically a member. So, and if you do work that's based in Denver, but say it airs specifically for a Miami, Florida audience, your membership will allow you to enter in the Suncoast chapter's Emmy Awards for doing something for one of their audiences.
Okay.
Yeah? See? You work all over the country. There are 19 chapters. So yeah. Yes?
So if I pay for the membership, I'm not a member so far. So if I pay for the membership, I have to pay also for the $100 for the Emmy Awards, right?
Yes. Yes. There are 2 payments here that we're talking about. The 2 payments that will actually save you money in the long run. The first one is membership, and the second is a member entry fee. That is a member discounted entry fee. So yes, 2 separate payments. The membership rates and the entry fees are different depending on the chapter that you enter in, by the way. Everybody does it differently. We're actually one of the lowest ones in the country, just because we try to work that way. But other questions? Nothing?
Maybe in an email later.
Say what?
Once I process all this, maybe I'll send you an email or something.
Email or call. This is what I do. I love this time of year. Not the long rambling phone voice messages, but when you guys are asking these questions, I love this stuff because it is fun. It's the Emmy Awards are about awarding excellence. And while we're not perfect, we try really, really hard to get that mark. And y'all are part of that. And if you're doing work that deserves an excellence nod, yeah, play with us. Let's do this. You go to that Emmy Award show in July, and you're around people, most of whom have been nominated, and they're just psyched to be there. Plus the networking. But it's a wonderful show. Ian, you've been before. But it's a blast. It's just a
I have
blast.
one more question. What was like your favorite project that you won an Emmy for?
I've only won that one.
Okay.
That's mine. My day job is this at the Emmy Awards. This is freelance.
Okay.
So yeah. And actually, I don't ever want to enter. This is the best show ever. The Colorado Historic Hotels. The writing on that, the writer is my favorite writer for all the freelance stuff I've ever done. And she just wrote this thing that was exactly how I wanted to say those words. It was so cool. So yeah, this is my best right here. Yeah, I got lucky. Yeah. Anything else, y'all? All right. So hey, call me. You know where to find me. Thank you so
Thank you so much for doing this. We appreciate it.
I love this, so thanks.
And so, reminders for everybody, State of the State at the C Film Center next Wednesday, 6 p.m. Be there. And then February 19th, we'll be back together with NATAS
Right here.
again here, 6 p.m. February 19th.
Small business, IP,
Monetizing your video IP.
lawyers. We talk about lawyers.
February 19th,
Yeah.
6 p.m. right here.
Your email again, can you just spell it?
Audrey, Audrey, like Hepburn, Audrey at Emmy Awards, all one word, plural, .tv.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for being here. And if you are currently not a member of CFVA, you can see Rob and Lauren in the back. They can answer any questions. I can as well. And again, if you are not a member of NATAS and you're thinking about getting an Emmy,
Save yourself some money.
join.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for being here tonight. Thank you.
Thank you for all those questions that were like exact plans. Oh, I had my cards, the things that I really wanted you to ask.
You want to know the only thing I wrote down? There's my notes.
What I want to do is get notes from Ian and Audrey on how we set this up. So it's easier next time. Oh, that was a good catch. Yeah.
Thought I could do something productive. Still standing in the back of the thumb of my.
They asked a lot of interesting questions.
Yeah,
It was
there
good
were.
group. Yeah.